To Big Boy Baz, who sends in today's confession. Thank you, Baz. Simon, Brother Matthew and Sister Susie in the pub. I need to take you back to the year 1988, to the day now fondly known to all Nottingham Forest fans as Brian Rice Day, so named after the legendary winger's goal against Arsenal in the quarter-final of the FA Cup that year, which became the highlight of his career. Father Simon, me and my pals faced a dilemma, or at least one of our best mates did. He's called Pete. You see, we all had tickets to the away game at Highbury in North London. The issue was that one of our other mates was getting married in Nottingham on that day. Three of us were only invited, just the three of us were invited to this evening event, but poor Pete was invited to the main day. The reason being that his fiancée was the maid of honour, and he was expected to be there because of her. They'd been together for 5 years, an ominous sentence.
Okay.
Pete was distraught, but eventually we managed to get Tina to agree to let him go to the match, being a quarter-final and everything, if he was back for the evening meal at 7:30. We said no problem, we'd definitely have him back in time, as it was only 2 hours away and the match finished at 4:45. What could possibly go wrong? I was driving in my brand-new second-hand gold Ford Fiesta. Okay, there's a problem there with that sentence. First of all,
brand new
and second-hand,
yeah.
And a gold Ford Fiesta.
Gold, yeah.
Gold! And the four of us set off from Highbury in high spirits. Well, the game and the day could not have been better. Two outstanding goals, especially one from our dear Brian Rice. We won the game 2-1. We were ecstatic. It was only on the journey home that the problem started. The car kept overheating, dangerously so. This enforced a number of stops on our way back, most of which, I have to report, were near various pubs. While the car was cooling down, we'd have a pint and then proceed onwards. At this stage, obviously not the driver.
Obviously not.
At this stage, you could see and smell the fear in young Pete's face. "She's going to kill me," was one of the first of many comments. By now, the beer was starting to top the guy's back up, not the driver, obviously. And over several stops, Pete had gone from complete fear to, well, hang on, who wears the trousers anyway mode, and his confidence was growing all the time.
Yeah.
We had car problems. Definitely not my fault. What could I have done?
What is
We finally
that?
arrived around 10. We finally arrived about 10 p.m., having promised 7:30,
what?
so we're only 2.5 hours later than planned. We agreed the story anyway. Pete was full of confidence. What could possibly go wrong? He was the alpha male in the relationship anyway. And when we got there, the disco was in full swing. Disco, huh? We ushered Pete in first and we cowered behind him. As Pete moved across the floor, in the background, Phil Collins sang about a groovy kind of love, which we all hoped would be the case. Tina was sat at the top table when she looked up and spotted Pete walking towards her. Their eyes met. Pete started to smile. Big mistake. He could not stop smiling. I remember thinking to myself, please don't smile.
Don't smile.
Tina was not smiling. She did not look happy. The pair met in the middle of the dance floor, Pete smiling away, just looking forward to seeing his fiancée's face, ready to tell her all about the details of our glorious victory at the Arsenal and all the problems we had on the way back, what with the overheating car and everything. She went berserk, slapped him around the face, kicked him where he did not want to be kicked, followed by careful blows to the torso, like something out of a John Wick movie.
Okay.
It was not pretty, Simon. The disco stopped, the dancing stopped, and all eyes were now on Tina, cornering Pete with every blow. It was savage. After what seemed like ages, we decided maybe we should step in, because Tina was looking a little bit tired at this point, and there were three of us. We separated them and took Pete outside to reflect. We decided it was probably best not to go back in, and we left not even enjoying a last pint in celebration of both our mate getting married and our glorious victory against the Arsenal. Have I mentioned that already? 3 weeks later, Peter and Tina separated after 5 years of being together. I wonder if you can guess, Father Simon, where this is heading. You see, the car actually wasn't overheating at all. Pete knew nothing about cars. He couldn't drive. He wasn't interested in them in the slightest. But we didn't want to hurry back, as we, you might remember, were not invited to the do. I personally showed Pete the temperature gauge and how high it was to back up my story, but he didn't realise I was actually showing him the petrol gauge rather than temperature gauge, and he didn't notice the difference. Father Simon and the collective, I seek forgiveness on behalf of the guys for making Pete drink all those extra pints and being late to the wedding. To Simon and his new bride, Well, apologies for probably ruining at least part of their day, and also, I suppose, yes, for breaking up my mate's relationship of 5 years with his fiancée. On a positive note, as the note changes, as a positive note, several weeks later, after another evening at the Dog and Trumpet in Nottingham, Pete found the love of his life and is still married to this day, some 32 years later. So look at it this way, we probably did him a favour. OK, well, that's certainly one way of looking at it. Big Boy Baz with today's confession. Yes, the car wasn't overheating at all.
Yes.
It was just that... That's a lot of gullible people in the car. Sister Susie's going first to pronounce here.
Well, Big Boy Baz, you know, I feel like you probably should have told Pete, but then he probably should have known that he was looking at the petrol gauge and not the temperature gauge. And I also feel like Tina was a bit mean. I feel sorry for the people whose wedding it was, because that was a show that they didn't really need. However, Pete, I don't really think it was your fault, so on this case, I'll forgive.
OK, let's check in with Brother Matthew.
Let's not forget here that Big Boy Baz wasn't even invited to the wedding, and he's having to go to this wedding that he wasn't invited to. So, I mean, he's definitely forgiven on that score. Fact is, Pete was not too bright. He's either complicit or he's incompetent. Tina, your best shot of him, so she's fine out of this. And, you know, Forest 1-2-1. Arsenal, I think, won the league the next year, so they're all right. Everyone's a winner. Everyone's a winner, so definitely forgiven.